This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so before starting, some of you, if you are joining newly, so today whatever I am starting is Salesforce development. Okay, so Salesforce, we have Salesforce administration and development. In general, development will be after administration. Whoever learn development, we are expecting they should know administration basics. Okay, so some of you, if you don't know about anything about Salesforce, maybe little bit you might struggle to understand. Yeah, so just you can ping me. Okay, so we also have demonstrations for admin. At least you need to learn some admin basics. Then if you continue with development, you see some result. Okay, so before starting, any questions, anyone? Okay, so let me start. So the thing is, most of you attended administration. So Salesforce is one of the software company. They are providing some of the cloud-based services. They are providing CRM applications as a service, software as a service, and also Salesforce they are offering platform as a service. Meaning, if you want to do any development or anything, all we need to do, so we need to log into one of their website, right? In general, so any company, if they want to use Salesforce CRM and Salesforce platform, that company what they'll do, they register with Salesforce, and that company they can create many users specific to that company. So in our example, we are taking Apple, right? So Apple is our client. So assume that Apple company they registered for Salesforce. So all the employees of the Apple company, sales team, service team on day-to-day basis, so they visit one of the Salesforce website, something like login.salesforce.com. They enter their username and password and login, right? So once we log in here, there are many ready-made applications, right? But ready-made means client to client, they might have some extra requirements to run their business. So Apple is one kind of company, right? Let's say Coca-Cola company also they are using Salesforce. Their business process is something different, right? So like that company to company, they'll be having some customizations on top of the standard applications whatever Salesforce offer. So most of the requirements we achieve using configuration means the point and click tools provided by Salesforce. So already those things we discussed in the administration. So development, why we do development? Whatever the point and click tools Salesforce offer, some complex requirements we might not be able to achieve in those situations. So we need to also do the development. Okay, development means what exactly we do in Salesforce. So let's try to understand. So do we need to learn any language like Java, .NET or whatever? Okay, so the thing is, Salesforce they have their own programming language. Okay, so you cannot use Java or .NET or whatever other languages. Salesforce they have a programming language called Apex. Okay, so this is the programming language. In order to do the development, we need to know about Apex programming language. Okay, the thing is, this is similar to Java, similar to CodeJava, similar to C#.NET or C++. Okay, so all those languages are based on the OOPS concepts, object-oriented programming concepts. Okay, Apex is also similar to that. Okay, in general, even though we develop the program in the Apex language, the thing is they run this on JVM, right? Internally, it runs on the Java, so one of the engine. But anyway, that we don't bother. So while working, we need to know about Apex language, and the syntax means as per this programming language, whatever, how we need to write the program. So all those things we need to understand. Okay. So before we start with that, so we only do coding using Apex programming language. So not only coding using Apex programming language, so we also need to develop the custom web pages. Right? Example. So here we have some standard applications. Right? Example sales, and then you click on a tab, you are seeing something like that. So let's say you want to add some custom screen somewhere here. So we have to develop that web page, the custom UI screen. Right? UI means user interface. So as part of the Salesforce development, we also work on the UI, user interface, means web page development. Okay. So as part of the Salesforce development, so we work on UI, right? UI means user interface, the web page development, right? How we develop the UI in general to develop the web pages, right? Any website you take, okay, most of the web pages. So people use HTML, right? HTML is the one of the markup language used to develop the web pages, right? And also when the HTML page is developed, to apply the styles, right? So people use CSS, cascading style sheets, right, to apply the styles. And also people to do some validations within the web page, JavaScript. Okay, so little bit all these things. So at least basics we need to know. Okay, anyway, we discuss from the basics. Okay, little bit if you, so some of you, if you don't know what is HTML, CSS or JavaScript, okay, so there is a website. So go to this website. So I mean, no need to learn completely everything, just to get the basic idea, right? Let's say you don't know what is HTML. So click on this HTML, right? Just read this introduction. HTML is the standard markup language for web pages, right? What is the full form? So all those kind of things you'll be knowing, right? So introduction and hypertext markup language, just to get to know, right? Page starts like this. So this one we call as a tag, right? In the same way, CSS, right? To apply the styles, right? What is that full form? How styles looks, right? Just a little bit, a few sections. Try to go through this, so that way you won't struggle. Okay, and similar way JavaScript. So what is this JavaScript and what we can do? So no need to, I mean, again, completely no need to learn everything, at least introduction and a few sections if you complete, it will be useful for you. Okay, anyway, so as part of the Salesforce UI development, it's not like we always write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Salesforce, they have their own framework. Okay, so we use that one. Okay, internally while developing, so we also see using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, And also as part of the Salesforce, so these are generic, but specific to Salesforce. So what we have, so Salesforce, right, when they started, they used to have S controls, but now you don't hear this. So no need to learn about that. No need to discuss about that. But still, so what we need to know, Visual Force is one of the markup language similar to HTML, but Visual Force is from Salesforce. Okay, so specific to Salesforce web pages, how these pages looks. So we can do such kind of page development easily using Visual Force. Okay, so previously, so here whatever you are seeing is a lightning experience. It used to be some little bit old experience, classic. When you go to classic, in general, in the classic experience, the pages how we see, right? So mostly to match with these pages and this kind of the architecture behind these pages is using Visual Force, right? So it was there. Still in some projects, slightly we need to use Visual Force. Okay, that is one of the markup languages. But later, Salesforce they introduced a Lightning experience. Right now, 100, I mean almost, right, for all new clients, 100% we use Lightning experience. But a little bit old clients, 90% we use Lightning. Occasionally, we also go to Classic, and people sometimes they use Classic. Okay, so now the thing is, in the Lightning experience, the framework behind this, so Lightning experience when they introduced, it used to be using ARA, ARA components, ARA applications, right? So we say maybe ARA components. So we also call this as Lightning components. We used to call Lightning components. Later we started calling ARA components. The reason is, so after this, Salesforce they came up with a new framework called LWC. Okay, LWC means Lightning Web Components. Okay, if I say Lightning components and Lightning Web components, it sounds almost the same. So to avoid that, so we say, right, nowadays, so we are saying as ARA components. Okay, so and LWC means Lightning Web Components. This is latest. This is the latest framework. So this was introduced in almost in 2019. Okay, so this ARA components, it was introduced in 2015. So this one I did not remember. I think between 2005 2000. So that time this was there. Okay, so UI always I think so always maybe based on the latest standards. These frameworks are changing. Okay, now the latest is Lightning Web Components 90%. So we have to uh, focus on the Lightning Web Components. Slightly just understand what is ARA component and basics, and even very slightly, so what is Visual Force and how it looks. So those kind of things. So we discuss. Okay, so in our training, 90% we focus on the LWC. Other things, just basics we touch. In depth, if you want, I have the old batch recordings I'll share. Okay, now no use to learn all those things. Okay, so now, so when we interact, right, when we develop a web page and when we click somewhere here, when you do something, right, when you fill something and click on save, so what happens? In the background, it executes some logic, right? The logic, what it executes, we don't see. right? We cannot see. So ultimately, if you populate everything properly, click on save, it executes some logic in the background. Finally, this record will be saved into the database, right? So when we interact with the UI, the backend logic, so whatever it execute, so that is nothing but Apex, right? User interface, and this is like backend logic, right? We'll say controller. Okay, the UI part we also call as view, right? View is with our eyes what we can see on the screen, that is view. Controller is nothing but the business logic, right? Business logic. So that is nothing but here we use the Apex programming language. Okay, and ultimately to save the data or to read the data from the database, right? It has to hit the database, right? So maybe to make it easy, I'm doing something like this, right? It will hit the database. So database is which database? Oracle database or SQL Server. We don't bother in Salesforce while working in Salesforce. So Salesforce, they have their in-house database. Okay, we don't bother in the backend. They are using Oracle or something else. Okay, in general, the talk is it is Oracle. Okay, but for us, so we can say Salesforce database. Okay, so whatever the data is present in the database, we can read that data through controller and display on the UI, and also from UI, whatever data we input, that can be saved into this database. Okay, database is nothing but the collection of tables, right? So example, we have some standard objects, lead, right? Account, contact, opportunity, right? All those are the standard objects. Object is nothing but a database table, right? So it interact and it will bring. So, but the thing is to interact with the database. So we need a query language. We need to write some queries. Okay, so here in Salesforce we have SOQL, SOSL, and TML. Okay, SOQL means Salesforce Object Query Language, similar to SQL, and SOSL means Salesforce Object Search Language. So DML, so these two to read the data from the database. DML is data manipulation language, meaning so whenever we want to save the data, creating, editing, deleting, undeleting from recycle bin, those kind of things we use. For those things we use DML. Okay, so little bit, it's not complex like SQL, right? SQL means structured language, structured query language. So queries are little bit complex. So while working, so you don't see that much complexity here, right? With almost with 1 hour discussion, so you'll be knowing how to write the queries and how to save into the database. Okay, that much easy. Okay, in the same way, Apex programming language, so it's not much complex like Java, right? If you say Java, so Java is like a ocean, right? In Java, very basic thing is core Java, right? On top of that, there are many things. So this Apex is maybe the complexity level of Apex is even the less complex than core Java. Okay, so many things are optimized, and so we don't need to do. So I mean, many headaches are removed, and smoothly we can focus on writing the code. So once we start creating, you will understand. Okay, so that is Apex, and UI development also same thing. So we don't develop anything from scratch. Most of the UI development, how we do. So they have a website, Salesforce. So we need to copy paste from that website, and on top of that, we need to make some changes and achieve the requirements. As per the client requirement, we need to achieve that. Okay, so it's like that. So overall, as part of this training, as part of the development, we are going to discuss all these things. And also one more thing, one of the important concept is integration. Okay, so why we use integration? Okay, so example, right? We are thinking, right? We are assuming. So Apple is our client, right? Apple company. They are using Salesforce, right? So this client, they're using Salesforce CRM and the platform for their CRM process, right? Same company, let's say they are also using SAP, right? So maybe for some other business module, so they are also using, let's say, .NET, right? They are also using Java, like that, right? So on, based on the business module, they might be using different platform applications, right? Maybe for their employees management, let's say they're using Workday, right? Something like that. So when they have these different types of applications, so I mean, all these are, even though these are different technologies, Salesforce is a different platform, SAP is completely different technology, .NET and Workday, all those are different technologies, but all those applications are Apple company applications, even though technology is different. So Apple company, they are managing their applications by using those, because each technology is famous for some kind of functionality. So Salesforce is for CRM, SAP is for ERP, right? Maybe Workday is for their employee management, those kind of things, right? So now they want integration, means they want communication between these applications. So for example, from Workday to Salesforce, they want some integration, right? From SAP to Salesforce, they want some integration, right? So when they want some integration between those cross-platform applications, so we implement the web services. Okay, so that is also one of the concept, right, in Salesforce. So how we work with the integration, right? We achieve integration using web services, or we say API, application programming interface. So all these things as part of the Salesforce development we'll be discussing. Okay, so now out of all these things, the core thing what we need to know is Apex. Apex programming language is the core thing. So what we need to know. So so once you know that, the remaining things, so automatically you can easily develop. Okay, so the heart of this development is Apex programming language. Okay, in general, while teaching, so I start with the Apex programming language, understand all the basics and everything. So after that, we start with the UI development and integration, all those things. So I think the last batch, I started with UI, so web page development, and later how we work with the Apex language and all those things. So yeah, I think only one batch I started with LWC, and later on about Apex. So maybe people are overloaded with that. I think it's always better to start with Apex. Okay, so we start with Apex, then we'll discuss about the UI development. Okay, so at high level, this is what we need to discuss now. First, almost 1 week, we only discuss about Apex and the Apex programming basics. Okay, so I assume that you don't know anything. So no need to know some language already. Okay, we start from basics and understand. So what is a Apex program, how we can develop, and we understand all the different Apex programs, and finally we do the development with UI and everything. Okay, so before we start with the Apex, any questions, anyone? Okay, so now, so what is a Apex?
Question,
Yeah,
Srinagar, like how
yeah.
many weeks will this entire course be?
Frankly speaking, this entire development takes 3 months. Okay, so I'm taking 4 classes per week. So based on that, practically it is taken 3 months. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. So any other questions? Okay, so now let's understand what is this Apex programming language and how we can work with that. So first of all, what is a program? So what is this programming language, right? So we have to understand. So first of all, what is a program? So how we write a program? What are the different elements present in a program? All those things, right? So now, to understand easily, so let's compare with one of the natural language, right? So example, now if you see here, so let's take English, right? When we start learning English, how we start learning, right? So in general, in English, we write the paragraph, right? If you want to write, explain about something, we write some set of sentences and form a paragraph, right? One paragraph is nothing but set of sentences, but all those sentences should be in a proper sequence, right? So if you don't keep the sentences in a proper order, it will be very confusing and people cannot understand, right? So whatever you want to convey, we have to write in sentences in a proper order. Finally, we form the paragraph. But one sentence, how we form the sentence? Using some of the words in English, right? But while learning the English, right? So maybe first we start with the letters and after that words, right? So what are the different types of words we use in English language? Right? We use noun, adjective, verb, right? So we have different terminology, right? Word can be a noun or verb or adjective, right? And a set of words by we need to follow the grammar, right? So if you don't follow the grammar, if you don't combine the words using grammar, it won't give the meaningful sentence, right? So we have to follow the grammar, form the sentence, set of sentences in a proper order, will become a paragraph. So that is how we write the English paragraph. Same thing. Okay, so here think that one paragraph of English is a program, Okay, one program. Okay, but here terminology. So instead of sentences, so here we call as statement, right? So maybe paragraph, here we call as program. Sentence, here we call as statement. Statements should be in a proper order, that we call as a flow. Statements in a proper flow, proper order. And also how we can form the statement using tokens, right? Instead of words, here we call as token, right? Any word what you see in a program, technically we call that as a token. Okay, instead of words we have to use token as a terminology. And also similar to how the words are classified, noun, verb, adjective, like that. So tokens also can be a keyword, identifier, operator, or literals or strings. Okay, I'll explain. So when we call a particular token as a keyword, so when we call that as an identifier, we'll discuss that, right? So similar to in English, so when we call noun, when we call verb, same way here, we'll discuss that. Okay, but to start with, just understand. Okay, so this is how we have to understand a program. Okay, now let's understand. So I mean, before we start, so anyway, no need to learn about different words, all those kind of things, right? Uh, This is also in English only you see, right? But when we use what, we'll discuss. So before we start with that, so in English, right, when we write the sentence, there are different types of sentences, right? Sometimes we combine sentences using and, or because, or but, something like that, and combine multiple sentences, right? Here also we can do like that. Okay, so what are the types of statements, right? We can write in a program. First we discuss those basics. So slowly we try to form a program. Okay, so once you know what are the different types of statements, it's easy for us to write the program. Okay, so for that, so before we list out the different types of statements, so one thing I want to explain: Apex program is case sensitive or case insensitive, right? Any programming language, if you start learning, the first thing what we learn is the programming language is case sensitive or case insensitive. Okay, so what is the meaning of case sensitive or case insensitive? So example, right? Let's say I'm saying my name, right? So same thing if I write as my name, that both are same, spelling is same, but what is the difference? So here I have capital M, here small m, like that, right? There is a difference in the case, even though both are same. So there is a difference in the case, right? Small letter, capital letter, like that. There is a difference. So now the thing is, if the programming language is case sensitive, it will treat this as different and the below one as different, because there is a difference with the capital letter. Both the language treat both as different. But when you say programming language is case insensitive, right? So Apex programming language is case insensitive. Okay, so meaning these both are same. Okay, it won't bother about the cases. small letter or capital letter, both it treat as same. But other programming language, example, C#, .NET or Java, these both are case sensitive, meaning in Java, so these two are different because there is a difference in the capital letter. But in Apex, both are same. Okay, so just understand that. Okay, now, so let me list out what are the different types of statements in a program. Okay, now whatever I'm going to list out is applicable for most of the programming languages like Java, .NET, all this. But so anyway, the basics what we discuss will more focus on, I mean, mostly we focus on what we need for Apex. Okay, so now let me list out the types of statements. Then we discuss each type of statement, how we can write. Then we combine all those statements and form the program. That's the plan. Okay, so now the first type of statement is memory statements. Okay, I'll explain what is that. Okay, first let me list out the types of statements. So we have memory statements, we have arithmetic, uh, logical statements, and we have conditional statements. We have controlling or looping statements. We have input or output statements. Okay, so now let me list, let's understand. So what is this memory statement? So why we need this? Okay, so memory statement is to hold the, so first of all, why we write any program, right? So what exactly the program will do? So we write the programs to automate some of the calculations or some of the manual things we want to automate and calculate automatically, right? Example, calculator, right? Without calculator, we have to think and do addition, subtraction, multiplication. So if you have calculator, so how the calculator works? So you give some number, some set of numbers as input, and mention you want to add or subtract or multiply, right? All we do, we give some input, some data, right? Some data as input based on operator what we choose, plus or minus or multiplication. So it will do the calculation and show the output as a result. We can see that and we can understand what is the result of that, right? So the thing is, mostly any program, whatever we write, so what it will do, it takes some data as input, right? And it will apply the logic. Whatever the logic we write in the program, it execute, and finally it will generate the output. Based on how we write the logic, it will give the output, right? So now the thing is, whatever the data we input or whatever the data it will display, for that it needs some memory, right? So to store that information, system need memory. Calculator also will have some memory, right? In the same way, so here while writing the program, whatever the input data we give, or after doing the calculation, whatever the output data it show, it needs some memory, right? So it needs to hold that information, it needs memory, right? Like in our laptop, right? So if you are using laptop, you know, right, we have memory. So let's say 1 TB memory, right? So whatever the data, right, whatever the notepad text or whatever the image or whatever the PDF document, so we store in that laptop memory. So even though you shut down our computer and again restart, you can go and open that file, right? Because it's stored in our laptop memory. Okay, so here this memory is not that. Okay, but in our laptop, if you see, we also have RAM, right? We say 8 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM, right? So what is the difference between memory and RAM? Memory, so here in the programming language perspective, so memory is like a, right, I mean in our hard disk, 1 TB or whatever the memory, so that is that's like a database memory. Ultimately this database, it will be there in, it will store in one of the server, right? So maybe, so Salesforce, right, when we register with Salesforce, in Salesforce server is also nothing but a computer, but that says supercomputer. So for our laptop we have some limitations. We have only 1 TB memory and 8 GB or 16 GB RAM, processor, all those. Server means thousands of million, I mean thousands of terabytes of memory, RAM, all those things. It's like a supercomputer, right? I mean, anyway, when any company, when they register with Salesforce, they get some space from the Salesforce server. Okay, whatever data we store, everything will save in Salesforce database server. Okay, now, I mean, coming back to what we are discussing, this one. So here, when I say memory, it is like a temporary memory, like RAM. In our computer, RAM, 8 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM, it is like that. So first of all, what is that RAM? What is the purpose of RAM in our computer? To hold the temporary memory, meaning, so if you see in my laptop, I opened this Chrome browser, I opened this Visual Studio Code, right, one of the application. I might open maybe my mails and messages or many other things, right? Maybe in the browser I open many websites. So all this, right, will occupy. I opened a PDF here to run, right? All these applications are running. This browser is running. This Visual Studio Code is running. I can add one more notepad, multiple, right? Keep on, it will hold that, right? But what will happen? So let's say this one, I opened, I'm typing, but I did not save. Once if I restart my computer, since I did not save this, this information won't be saved, right? So the thing is to run the applications. Each application at runtime occupies some memory, right? So it's not permanent. That memory is needed only until this application is running. Okay, like this, I can open VS Code, I can open Chrome browser, I can open some other browser, I can open a game, or I can open maybe music or whatever different applications, right? Each application will occupy some memory. So let's say I have a game. Sometimes, right, to load all the graphics and everything in the game, to run the game, let's say my memory, my RAM is 8 GB, but that game requires 10 GB. So what will happen? That that game I cannot run, because when I start that game, my laptop memory capacity, RAM capacity is 8 GB, but that's taken beyond that. So my system won't support that. So whenever if I try to run that, system will hang. So that's what will happen. Okay, I mean, just to understand. So when I say memory here, it's like a RAM, right? While when the program started running, at the time of executing the program, based on input whatever we give, based on the calculations what it do and the result it produce, it occupies some kind of memory, right? Let's say if I give two numbers, or if I give 10,000 numbers as input, right? 10,000 numbers means it occupy a lot of memory, right? So, but how much memory it should occupy? Is it like same thing for everything, right? Example, if you have a video, or you have an image, or you have a PDF file, so based on that file, the memory what it occupy will be different, right? In the same way, when we write a programming, when you write a program, which data should occupy which memory, we have to instruct. So that we mention as part of the memory statement. So example, so when we input some data, right? So data can be, it can be a number, it can be a text, it can be true or false, right? So we give different types of data we deal, right? So each type will occupy some different memory. Example, true or false, right? Needs very little bit less memory, right? Maybe numbers, right? Number also, so we have integer, decimal. Integer means no decimal digits, right? So decimal means a number with after dot you see some decimal characters. So based on that, the memory what it needs is different. Because as a programmer, while writing the program, so we instruct which type of data we are going to input. So are we going to input number, or are we going to input text, or are we going to give true or false? As a programmer, we instruct. So based on that, only that much memory while running the program, system will allocate, and it will do the calculation. Okay, so now the thing is, as a programmer, so we have to know, so what are the different types of data we deal. So based on that, it allocate that memory. So technically we call that as data type, right? Which type of data. So now whatever data types I'm going to list out, those are the data types which are present in the Apex programming language. Okay, maybe in some other programming language, example Java, .NET, little bit slightly, right? Mostly same, but slightly you see different variations how it work. Okay, now I'm going to, whatever I'm going to list out, those are specific to Salesforce Apex programming language. Okay, so let me list out the data types, and after that I'll show you how we work with those data types. Okay, so first one, let me maybe follow the alphabetical order. Blob is one of the data type. So when we use this blob is nothing but binary large object. Okay, so when we use this mainly while storing the files. File means it can be an image or Excel file or notepad or anything. Okay, to hold some attachment of files. So we use blob, binary large object. Okay, that is one of the data type. The next one is Boolean, is one of the data type. This Boolean, when you mention Boolean, it accepts either true or false. Sorry, to hold true or false, so we use Boolean data type. Okay, and so we also have, as per the alphabetical order, date is one of the data type. Okay, so date means based on the country, based on different factors, the formats will be different, right? So maybe in US they follow MMDDYY, right? Maybe in India we follow DDMMYY, something like that, right? Maybe some European countries also they follow the same. So country to country, based on some factors, formats will be different, but date supports this date format, one of these date formats. Okay, so the next one is date time. Right, along with the date, it also hold time, right? Hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds, everything. So that's the date time data type. Okay, so the next one we have decimal data type. Okay, decimal is nothing but a number along with the decimal digits, mainly while dealing with the currency. Right, example. So what is the price of a product? Let's say what is the price of Apple laptop, right? So let's say they say 99,999.999 US dollars, right? So they want after dot, those decimals also they want. Okay, so mainly while dealing with the currency, so we go with the decimal. Okay, so currency are some number calculations wherever we need decimal digits, so we can use that one. Okay, so the next thing, so there is a limit for the number of decimal digits, right? It's not like you can type whatever you want, right? There is a limit for the number of digits. Okay, mostly 18 digit up to 18, right? 18 numbers you can have. Beyond that, if you want huge number, so that time we have a data type double, right? So I'll say huge decimal value. Okay, so you see some exponential, right? So when we study mathematics, huge number, how we do exponential something, so that much big numbers to hold we use decimal, sorry, double. So double is nothing but a decimal with a huge value. Okay, so the next one, so after this it is D. So we have ID. Okay, so one of the data type in Salesforce, we have a data type called ID. So in administration, if you remember, to hold the ID for a record, right? A record in many places to hold the unique ID. So we have 15 digit and 18 digit IDs. So to hold that 15 or 18 digit IDs, okay. So to hold the 15 or 18 digit record IDs, so that time we use this ID data type. Okay, so just understand. The next one, integer, right? So integer is one of the data type. So integer is also a number, but it's a rounded number. Example, sometimes while dealing with the quantity, right? So let's say I want 2 laptops or 10 laptops. So I cannot say I need 1.5 laptop, right? It's not meaningful. Okay, so some places, so we don't deal with the decimal digits. We want only the rounded numbers, right? That time, so we go with the integer type. So example, quantity and such kind of thing, 100, 200, 5, like that. Okay, and also the hues. This is also maximum 18 digits, right? Up to 18. So keep on, you can add numbers, but it should not exceed 18 number of digits in a number. Okay, so beyond that, if you want to store, okay, so that time we have long, right? Long is nothing but huge integer value. So that time we go with the long data type. Okay, the next one, object, is one of the data type. So this object is a generic, right? Generic means, so sometimes, so maybe while taking examples, you'll know, we don't know the input is a number or string or true or false, or we don't know it is a date, or we don't know what is that. So that time we go with the object. So when we define the memory using object, so in that memory, it can hold either a number or string or boolean or date or anything. Okay, generic format. Okay, the next one, string. Okay, so string means nothing but a text. So starting from single character, a word or maybe sentence or paragraph or whatever big text, to hold we use a string, right? Only the thing is the text, whatever we type, whatever we hold, should be inside single quote. Okay, and remember, only single quote, not double quote. Okay, whatever the text you want to store, that will be inside single quote. Okay, that's the string type. Okay, so the next one is time, right? To hold the time, maybe hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds. So time data type we use. Okay, so these are the different data types available while working with the Apex programming language. Okay, so most of the times we use only this boolean, right? Decimal, integer, string. So these are the most of the times we use. Almost I never use decimal, sorry, double. right? So I never use it double or long in my experience. Okay, maybe some situations we might need to use. Okay, so on day to day mostly, so we deal with the decimal, integer, string, boolean, maybe date. The other things, if you know it, is good. So these are the data types. Okay, now we know the data types. Now using this data type, how we allocate memory and how we store the data into that memory. So that we need to discuss. So that one we discuss in our next class. Okay, we understand how we write a memory statement, but on day to day, so what we call that, all those things we'll discuss and continue with the other types. So once we know all these basics, then we can write a program and we deal with the whatever wrapex we need, all those things we'll discuss. Okay, so before ending today, so any questions, anyone?
Seno triggers concept comes under Apex only.
Yes.
Okay.
So in Apex again, triggers, batch Apex, test class, minitics, integration, everything is part of Apex. Okay.
Yes, Seno. Thank you.
So,
So before ending, any questions?
hey Srinu, this is Janvi.
Hi.
Quick question. So I have taken it, I mean, I learned admin and it's been a while. So just curious, I mean, do I need to like refresh my concepts? And you also mentioned there are some admin classes that are going on, right?
Yeah, actually, right. So admin classes are completed for this batch.
Okay,
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 I'm
okay,
starting with the development.
okay.
So since already you are saying you know admin, right?
Yeah,
At least you know what is Salesforce, right? What is sandbox? What is production? Right? In Salesforce, we have standard objects, custom
yeah,
objects, field
yes,
record types. Those things you know, right?
right, yep.
If you know those things is sufficient.
Okay, got it, got it. See, I mean, in general, like, for the next batch, are you planning to start anytime soon, or is it going to be later?
That will be after this development. This development takes 3 months. That
Got it.
means, yeah, I'm conducting limited batches.
Understood.
So yeah, practically after this development again admin.
Got it. In case if I don't understand any of this, if I forget some admin concepts, can I like message you, or if you can just refer me to some, maybe
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would be.
Anyway, based on the need we discuss. But anyway, I mean, in
Yeah.
general, for development, what we need. So I expect to know, so at least the standard object, custom object, fields,
Okay.
records, and the relationships. We have lookup and master detail.
Oh, okay.
Even if
Got it.
you follow trailhead, you will be knowing everything.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Maybe I can do
Yeah,
a
if
quick
you are
refresh.
following the trailhead, so just
Um,
again do admin beginner, because there is
okay.
a trail. Okay, so
Yes.
you can go to that admin beginner and try to again restart. I mean, again redo the each and everything.
Okay.
So that is sufficient for this development.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So yeah, any other questions?
Hi Srinu, this is Kusma here.
Hi.
I would like to talk to you later, end of the session. Is it fine for you? 5 minutes?
Yeah, you can call me to my WhatsApp,
Oh,
or
okay.
maybe, I mean, if it is a general question, you can ask here. So otherwise, you can call me in WhatsApp.
Yeah, I will call it now, right after.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, call if you want to call immediately. Okay.
yeah, immediately. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any other questions, anyone, before ending? Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow. So what I'll do, this notes and this recording. So in my morning, so I'm in EST. Okay, so in my morning I'll share with you to everyone. So mostly, you know, right? You have this meeting invitation. So what I'll do, I'll add one Excel as an attachment to that invitation. So in that you can see the link to notes and the link to recording. Okay, so until we complete all these demo sessions, we can refer that Excel with all the recordings and the notes. Okay, yeah, we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.